All right, I will say good morning, a good tevach. It is such a schos baruch Hashem to be able to continue another week of learning. Begin by thanking all of our incredible sponsors. We dedicate our learning first off, and there's a schos for refuah sheleimah for Zechariah Dov ben Parol Shira. Meretz Hashem, we hope that this little boy has a complete refuah together with Kol Cholei Yisrael. We thank our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Menachem Av, Benjamin and Elys Wohl from Netanya, Eretz Yisrael, for dedicating all the Shiurim and Drashos this month in honor of Moishe Abramson and Jeremy Lasson, who make the Shiurim available to all those outside of our physical Bais Midrash. To thank our week of learning sponsors, Saeed Sima Haken for refuah sheleimah for Avraham ben Zinat and for the hatzlacha for the entire family, and to thank Michael and Leah Edidin in memory of Leah's brother, Yehonosan Siegal, Yonosan ben Yosef, whose yahrzeit is on the 11th of Av. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an aliyah, the family in Nechama. And to thank Menachem and Susie Schoenfeld for dedicating the Mizonos this morning in memory of Rabbi Weingat, Zichron Livracha. We hope that in the merit of the brachas, in the merit of the Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an aliyah and the family in Nechama. But with that, let us begin. We have Baruch Hashem a lot to do today. I'm sorry, say it again? No. In honor of Shlomo Melech? Did you send me this? Of Shlomo HaMelech? No, I'm not, I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm going to do this. Okay. Oh, got it. I'm sorry. I didn't see the whole sponsorship. I'm sorry. So I'll leave for the neshama of Reb Shalom Zev ben Reb David Aryeh Weingat and in the schus of Shlomo HaMelech. Beautiful. Okay, great. Excellent. Can't go wrong with that. It's not gonna bad. Hey, so let us begin. We have a lot to do today, Baruch Hashem. So today's daf is Samech Ches 68. We are picking up in Yehonosan Hashem on Samech Zayin on the base 67b. We are picking up 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines up from the bottom. Let's go. Amrle Reish Kalusa Rav Sheshes. The Reish Kalusa said to Rav Sheshes, "My time lo sad mar gaban. Why do you not dine with us?" Right, so Reish Kalusa, ask Rav Sheshes, why don't you eat with us? Amrle Telo Malu Avdi Techashide Evra Minachai. Very simple. I don't trust your kashrus. I am nervous that ultimately, again, your servants are going to serve me Eivra Menachai. What's Eivra Menachai? Eivra Menachai means a limb taken off of a living animal. Amalei mi yemar. So Reish Kalusa was like a shtickle offended. What do you mean? You tell me my standards aren't up to your standards. That's fine. But remember, if you go ahead and you say that my servants are serving Eivra Menachai, that means I'm eating. Tarfos says, well, Amalei hashta machviralach. So Rav Sheshes says to Reish Kalusa, I'll show you. Amalei shamei. So Rav Sheshes says to his servant, Zil Genuv, I see the Chadekara Mechiyusa. I see like. So we'll say, so now what happens? So Rav Sheshes had an interesting idea. He told his servant, go, the servant says, Kalusa not preparing an animal, go and steal one of the limbs of the animal and bring it to me. Okay. Don't lay head Nidechiyusa. I su tzlasa kari. I su a kame. So what happens? So we'll say, so now the Reish Kalusa servants are preparing food. They can't find one of the limbs of the animal. So what do? They bring out the tray of food, and there's only 3 legs. 3 legs. Amar loho balas shloshas raglayim havi. So Rav Sheshes said, that's an interesting animal. Did the animal only have 3 legs? So the servants of the Reish Kalusa were embarrassed. What did they do? Pasuk aisi chada me'alma osivu kameh. Sure enough, what did they do? They took a limb off of another living animal, quickly prepared it, added it to the dish. Amar le'le shamei, osvei nami lahach didach. At this point, Rav Sheshes tells his servant, why don't you produce the leg of the animal that you took from the kitchen earlier? Asvu amar lehu hai bas sheshes raglayim havi. To which Rav Sheshes says to the servants of the Reish Kalusa, did this animal have 5 legs? So he proved his point. And I'll say, by the way, what's fascinating about this particular story is, so here they really were serving Eivra Menachai. He had to prove it in a very conclusive way. What's fascinating about this was, when confronted with reality that the animal was missing a leg, the servants of the Reish Kalusa could have simply said, we can't find it. We don't know what happened to this extra leg. It's an interesting thing how in life, very often what happens is when people are confronted with a particular reality that they can't readily explain, we'd so often rather invent things than just confronting the truth. In other words, the truth here would have just simply been, we couldn't find the leg. We don't know what happened. But instead of going ahead and acknowledging that reality, they tried to create an entire alternative reality to go ahead and justify the absence of the leg. Sometimes just acknowledging the truth of a situation is so much easier than going ahead and inventing alternative realities. In any event, so now at this point in time, Rav Sheshes has proven to the Reish Galusa why he can't go ahead and dine with him. So the Gemara says, so good. So Amrlei, Ihachi, Le'abdu Kameh, Demar V'leichol. So now the Reish Galusa says to Rav Sheshes, well, Rav Sheshes, what about if my servants prepare a meal for you in your presence? In your presence. This way you could see all the food prep and you'll be able to eat. Amrlei, L'chai, Rav Sheshes says, fine. No problem. Happy to do that. So So sure enough, so what happened? So they brought a platter of meat before Rav Sheshes. Vaisu kame bisra, va'osivu kame ristana dechanka chamsa. So the chanka chamsa. So what happened? So they brought before Rav Sheshes. So at this point in time, one could imagine the servants of the Reish Galusa did not like Rav Sheshes very much, right? Because again, he showed them up in front of the Reish Galusa, and again, now their entire integrity is questioned, rightfully so. So what did they do? They brought before him a piece of meat, Resanta dechanka chamsa. They brought before him a piece of meat that had a very small bone. The bone itself was usually undetectable, but was a dramatic choking hazard. They purposely gave this piece of meat to Rav Sheshes with the hope that he would choke on it. So Gashashe, Vishakle, Karacha Besudre. So Rav Sheshes, I will say obviously Rav Sheshes himself is on heightened alert because he recognizes the servants of the Reish Galusa do not like him very much. So what did he do? He saw that this piece of meat had this little bone that was the choking hazard. So what did he do? He took the piece of meat, he wrapped it in a cloth. Lebazar da'achal. So again, let's say he wasn't going to make a big deal out of this, but obviously he also wasn't going to eat a piece of meat. Now the servants of the Reish Galusa realized that he did not eat the portion they prepared for him. So what did they do? So they were trying to show now that Rav Sheshes is just interested in making problems. Because he accused us of Eiver Menachai. Fine. So he won't eat food that we prepare. And even when we prepare it in front of him, he's still not eating. So Labasar Da'achel Amrlei, after the meal was finished, they said, Tap of Sameches Rabosai, Ignav Le Kasa de Kaspa. Somebody took a silver cup. So what they were saying is, as they were clearing off the meal, they said there's a piece of silverware that's missing. So they wanted to check all of the guests to see perhaps had someone gone ahead and pocketed some of the Reish Galusa's silverware. So as they're searching all of the guests, which must have been an interesting experience, right? So they're searching all of the guests. Sure enough, what do they find? That Rav Sheshes has something wrapped in a cloth. Amrlei chazimar. So Elys Wohl. So what happened? So sure enough, what do they discover in Rav Shesh's cloth? The piece of meat that they had prepared for him. So they say to the servants of the Reish Galusa, say to Reish Galusa, you see, this guy is not interested in dining with us. He's only interested in making problems. Right? If we prepare the food in the kitchen, he accuses us of Eiver Menachai. If we prepare it in front of him, he still doesn't eat it. Amar lahu. Ana mecha achli. So ultimately, Rav Sheshes says, no. I would have been happy to eat vitami be taima dichiyura, but I tasted that the animal had leprosy. Amr lechiyura lo avid lan ha'idna. Chas v'shalom, we did not prepare any animal with leprosy. Amr lehu bat kubaduchta. Ultimately, he says, go and check the animal again, and go and check a particular place in the animal. Black spots on a white animal, white spots on a black animal, lekusahi. Ultimately, is stricken with leprosy. Baduk ashkechuha. Ultimately, again, sure enough, they looked, and they found that there was leprosy on the animal. So we'll say this is interesting. In other words, Rav Sheshes did not want to come straight out and say, hey, the reason I didn't eat the meat was because, ultimately, again, you tried to kill me with a choking hazard. Either because perhaps they could feign ignorance, or B, because, we'll say, remember again, with the Reish Galusa, you have to be very careful. You have to be very, very careful. And the servants of the Reish Galusa were often very powerful people in their own right. So Rav Sheshes had to navigate this carefully. So instead of making an accusation that they tried to kill him, instead he said, you know what, I tasted it, I tasted a little leprosy, miracle happened, sure enough, they found spots of leprosy. Okay, story's not over. Ki kanafik. So finally I will say, Rav Sheshes is leaving. And by the way, how is he leaving? Hungry, right? Because remember again, the first batch of food, no good, Avraham Achai. Second batch of food, wouldn't eat it because of the choking hazard. So now he's leaving. I will say, now watch this. So Kari le bira, v'shadlev tzevsa. And I will say, an important piece of the story. Rav Sheshes was blind. Rav Sheshes was blind, which is the other reason they thought they could get him ultimately with the choking hazard. So I will say, so now if you could imagine, the servants of the Reish Galusa are totally fed up with him. So they want to be done with him. So what do? An interesting plan. They dug a deep pit. They covered it with a mat reed. Because they figured what happens, Rav Sheshes is blind. He's just going to walk right into this trap and fall to his death. So ki kanafik kari le bira, v'shad le tzivsa iluya, amri le seimar leinach. So as they're leading Rav Sheshes up, they said, you know what? Why don't you come over here and rest a little bit before you leave? And their goal was to have him walk literally right over the mat reed, fall into the pit, and die. Nocher le Rav Chisda me'achore. So I will say, ultimately, again, Rav Chisda, nocher literally means like snorted. Rav Chisda snorted from behind Rav Sheshes. So he made like a startling sound. So this caused Rav Sheshes to pause. So the Gemara says, so Rashi says over here, Nochile Rav Chisda asulo simin. Then I will say, so okay, we'll come out in just a moment. So Nochile Rav Chisda me'achore. Amrele liyinuka. So Rav Sheshes stops. There had to have been a child in proximity. And Rav Sheshes says to the child, Pasek le psukech, tell me, what are you learning? Tell me the pasuk that you're learning in Cheder. So Amrele, Netelecha al yamincha o al smalcha. The pasuk he was saying, I will say, was from Shmuel Beis. What does the pasuk say? Pasuk said, go to your left or go to your right. Just don't what? Don't go straight. Right? Amrele, l'sham'e, my kachazis. So Sheshes says to his attendant, what do you see in front of you? Amrele, tzifsa d'shajya. Says, I see a reed mat on the ground. Amrele, hadramine. He said, you know what? Let's go around this. See, he averted the trap. So the basar dinafik, after left the house of Reish Galusa, Amali Rav Chisda, Minna Havayada. So Rav Chisda, so I will say, now here's what's interesting. Rav Chisda was one of the Gemara says who snorted. Now, what's interesting about this is as follows. Did Rav Chisda know what was happening or not? Right? So the story makes a little bit more sense if you say Rav Chisda knew what was happening and he snorted. But I will say, but there's also, you could also read this story as I'm saying that Rav Chisda did not know what was happening. He just was, sometimes people just make loud noises, right? I don't know, he was blowing his nose, right? Or he was coughing, or he just, whatever, he was clearing his throat. So he just made a loud noise. So we'll say, if you go with this idea that Rav Chisda did not know what was happening, so literally again, at the moment that Rav Sheshes is walking, so Rav Chisda goes ahead and makes this loud noise. It causes Rav Sheshes to pause. Number one, you snorted. Second of all, again, the kid, right? When I ask the kid what he's learning, and he tells me this pasuk, go on the left and go on the right. Furthermore, the servants of Reish Galusa, they've already tried to literally, again, kill me once, give me Avraham Achai a different time. So pretty much, if you could imagine, like my antennas are up, right? I'm up, I'm a little bit choshish. By the way, I just will point out, if you go with the understanding of the story, that Rav Chisda did not know what was going on. So just it happened to be, he coughed, he sneezed, he snorted right at that moment. So I will say, the godless of Rav Sheshes is like this. Whenever Rav Sheshes understood, whenever something out of the ordinary happens in life, you have to pause and wonder what it is that's going on. I would say, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh brings down, he says, a person only sees what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants them to see in this world. And you only hear what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to hear. So anything that happens to us in life, that we experience, is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to broadcast us a message. The difference is that often in life we just go through life oblivious to those things happening around us, so we miss messages all of the time. But someone like Rav Sheshes, I will say, who ultimately, besides the fact that since he's blind, his other senses are obviously again heightened, but Lamaisa, more than that, on a deeper level, understood, there's nothing that's random. See, even again, you're walking out of the house of the Reish Galusa, and a loud sound, a cough, a sneeze, a snort comes along. Rav Sheshes lived life in such a way that everything that happens in this world is a siman from Hashem. So stop and take stock. What was the siman of the snort? He didn't know. Siman of the snort, right? He didn't know. But Lamaisa, what did he know? What did he know? Stop for a moment and figure out what is happening around you. I will say, imagine if we lived life like that. That recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to us in so many different ways. Just stop and try to listen to what the message is. Incredible. Now let's say, now we begin. Asisi li sarem misados v'tarnugos b'nei Adam. Shida v'shidos. So it says, what does this mean? So this is Shlomo HaMelech in Koheles, talking about the various things that he had in this world. So the Gemara says, sarim v'saros. What does that mean? Ela mine zemer. This refers to different types of instruments that Shlomo HaMelech had. V'sanugos b'nei Adam. Pleasures that people have. Elu brechos umerchatzos. This refers to pools and bathhouses. Shlomo HaMelech enjoyed all of these things. Shida v'shidos. What's shida v'shidos? Hachat Agimo. Here we explain shida v'shidisin. Male demons and female demons. Okay? B'ma'arava amri shidisa. Ultimately in Eretz Yisrael they explain this as chariots. Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Shlosh me'os mine shedim hayu b'shichin. There were 300 different types of shedim in the city of Sichin. V'shida atzma inu yodea mahi. Rabbi Yochanan said, despite the fact that there were so many shedim in the city of Sichin, I still don't really know what a shade is. See, Rabbi say, to kind of highlight this, we'll see what this means just a little bit. Aramar, hachar targimo, shida v'shidisim. Shabbos say, shida v'shidisim l'mayi boile. Shabbos say, so Shlomo HaMelech is essentially saying, I had all of these things in this world, right? I had all of these pleasures, all of these things, and I also had dominion over the shadim. So the Gemara says, why does Shlomo HaMelech need dominion over the shadim? So here Gabba says, incredible. L'mayi boile, d'chsev, v'habayis bihibanso, even sheleimah, mas nevona. So I'm a little rabbanon, hechi avid. So we'll say, listen to this. Shlomo HaMelech has the great zechus to build the Bais Hamikdash. So we'll say, first of all, what a beautiful zechus it is to learn a Gemara about the building of the Bais Hamikdash on the week of Tisha B'Av. On the week of Tisha B'Av, we're all getting all excited about the Shadim. Before we even get to the Shadim, this is the story of the building of the Bais Hamikdash. Incredible. This, I think, the fact that we're doing this Gemara this week foreshadows that there are great things ahead for us. So the Gemara says as follows. So here's a problem. The Bais HaMikdash has to be built from stone. And obviously I will say, when you quarry stones, so remember again, you're quarrying raw stones. You obviously have to cut them down to size. What's the problem? The problem we'll say is you can't use metal. Now, let's talk about this just a moment. Really, the Iker Halacha is, you can't use metal on the stones of the Mizbeach. That's really what you can't use, right? So, Shlomo HaMelech seemingly kind of globalized this concept and said, ideally, we shouldn't use metal for any stones. Right? And all the stones used in the Bais Hamikdash should be cut without metal. So Shlomo says, how do you cut stones without metal? Amrulei ika shemira. There is the shamir. But remember again, we already learned about the shamir. We learned about the shamir where? Mesechus Sota. Right? Remember again, where do we learn about Mesechus Sota? By the choshen, by the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol. Remember again, you have to engrave the names. So remember again, Rashi quotes this whole thing. Remember again, what did we see? What was the problem? You can't chisel the names of the shvatim into the stones of the breastplate. Why? Because if you chisel, what do? Right? You're diminishing the stone. So we'll say, so how did they do it? They did the shamir. Remember again, the Gemara Sota says, they traced the name of each shevet, and the shamir, this creature, followed the tracing. So we'll say, what did the shamir do? Essentially, the shamir depresses The stone causing the names to be there. Incredible. So the Gemara says, Iga Shamira da'isi Moshe la'avne ephod. Amar lahu, heichi ishtachel. So Shlomo says, okay, where can I get me a shamir? Right. You know, where does one pick one of those up? Where does one get a shamir? To which the Gemara says, so heichi ishtachel. Amar lahu, aisi shida v'shidisin. V'kavshinhu. So kavshinhu adadi. So Rabbi say, efshar di yadi umagalu l'cha. So listen to this. So they say to Shlomo, here's what you need to do. You need to go ahead and get a shida and a shid, right? Get a male shade and a female shade, rough them up a little bit, right? Apply a little pressure, and they'll spill the beans about where the shamir is. So what happens? We'll say, so that what happens? He gets a shade, a female shade and a male shade, applies a little pressure. What do they say? They say, we don't know anything. But, Dilma Ashmedai Malka de Shida Yada. Maybe Ashmedai. Ultimately, again, the king of the Shadim, maybe he knows. Okay? Amr lahu heichi ise. Where could I find Ashmedai, the king of the Shadim? We're about to get ready for this story. Amr leis, listen to this. They said, so this is now this regular. Essentially, what Shlomo did is Shlomo turned. He turned Shadim, right? This is like the first, witness protection program, right? So he turned them, right? So they go ahead and they give up their king. Where could we find the king? Amr lei ise betura plan. They said he lives by a particular mountain, right? Karile Bera Omayele Maya. So here's what you need. So Ashna lives by a mountain. He has dug for himself a pit in which he keeps water. Omechasya betinra v'chasme b'gushpanke. So as I said, what does he do? He covers up his pit, his water. He dug a well for himself. So he went ahead and he dug a pit. He filled it up with water. But he sealed up his pit and he puts a seal on it, right? He literally seals it up with clay. Betinra v'chasme b'gushpanke, and he puts his seal on it to make sure that no one tampers with his water. V'chol yoma, I will say, what does Ashmedai, the king of Shadim, do? V'chol yoma, salik l'rakia, every single day he goes up to Shamayim. V'gar mesifta d'rakia. We'll say he learns in the morning, right? The first thing he does is he goes up and he learns in the heavenly academy. The mesifta d'rakia. Then the nochis la'ara, the gomer mesifta da'ara. So Rabbi says incredible. So morning seder, right? First seder, Ashmedai goes and he learns in the yeshiva Shalmala. Second seder, he comes down to earth and he learns here in the yeshiva over here on earth. Va'asi sarle l'geshpanke. It's a lot of traveling. He gets thirsty. So what happens? He goes to his pit. He examines his seal to make sure it's intact. Omegalile v'shasi. He uncovers it. He drinks. Umechasile, then he covers it back up. V'chasim le va'azil. And then he goes in and he covers it back up, puts back his seal, and then he moves on with his day. We'll say this is how Ashmedai, the king of Shadim, spends his day. We'll say, so what does he do essentially the entire day? He's learning. In the morning in Shamayim, in the afternoon on earth. So the Gemara says, so what happens? Shajul Benayo ben Yehoyada. So Shlomo decides to send Benayo ben Yehoyada. So what's this? Now obviously, again, what does Shlomo need? What's Shlomo's goal? He wants to capture Ashmedai, the king of the Shadim. We'll say, to be clear, not because he's looking to rule over the Shadim. He just needs a piece of information from Ashmedai as to where to get the Shamir. So what happens? He sends Benayo ben Yehoyada. So Benayo ben Yehoyada was the head of the Sanhedrin, also the head of Shlomo Melech's armies. So Yoivle Shushilta dechakik alei Shem. He gave Benayo two things. Number one, a chain with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on it, va'az kasa dechakik alei Shem, and a ring with the name of Hashem as well. Now, we'll say, why does he need both of these things? So the Marshal comments over here. The Marshal says, so we'll actually tell you two Marshals. First of all, the Marshal says, the fact that Ashmedai, the king of Shadim, drinks water, so ultimately, the Marshal says, teaches us, Shadim, he says, drink, eat, and die like regular people. So that's the opinion of the Marshal, that they have these human qualities that literally, again, they eat, they drink, they die. Why did Ashmedai put a seal on his pit of water? Why did he put a seal there? What was he afraid of? Someone poisoning him. Right? I guess being the king of Shadim, I guess has perks, but it's also maybe makes you unpopular in the eyes of some. So I will say, so Marshal says, why else is he putting a seal? Why else is he putting a seal ultimately again over his water? So the Marshal says, you see from here that they eat, they drink, and they die like regular people. So therefore again, the chain is obviously there to capture Ashmedai. What about the ring? So the ring is there for personal protection of Ben Yehoyada. Okay, so what happens? Well, it's incredible. So what happens? So Shlomo gives him a chain that has the name of Hashem, a ring that has the name of Hashem, the Gavavei Amra, balls of wool, you'll see why, Vizikite Chamra, and skins of wine skins, and there's bottles of wine. Azal, so we'll say, listen to this plan. Listen, how do you capture Ashmadai, the king of Shedim? So this is incredible. Azal kara bira mitasai v'shafchinu l'may. So first of all, so the part the Gemara skips over here is Ben Yehoyada found the home of Ashmadai. Right? He finds the pit that Ashmadai stores his drinking water in. So what does Ben Yehoyada do? So he finds the pit. He digs a lower pit. So essentially what he does, Bais is ingenious. He digs a lower pit and he bores into the pit of Ashmadai from below. So what does he do? First thing he does, he drains Ashmadai's pit. Okay? And then after he does that, and he plugs up the hole though with this tuft of wool, with these balls of wool. Okay? That's step one. Step two, then what did he do? He digs a second pit. This second pit, I will say, was at an elevation that was higher than Ashmadai's pit. So essentially what he does is, if you could imagine, he digs a higher pit and drills into the side of Ashmadai's pit. What does he fill Ashmadai's pit with? Wine. After he finishes, he plugs up the hole. So Rabbi says, now there's no evidence that ultimately, again, that Ben Yehoyada was ever there. But now at this point, then what he's done is, he's drained the water, replaced it with wine. What does he do? So the Gemara says, Salik Yosef Be'ilana. Ben Yehoyada now goes up, sits in the tree, waiting to see what is going to unfold. Ki asa, so now Ashmadai comes down from the Mesifta Dirakia, he comes down from learning in Shamayim, Sari Lugushpanka, he examines his seal to make sure that it is intact. Galye, and he saw his seal is intact, he opens it up. Ashkeche Chamra, he sees that now his pit is filled with wine. Okay, so Amar Ksiv Leitz Hayayin Homa Shechar V'chol Shogeba Lo Yachkamu Ksiv Znus Yayin V'tiro Shikach Leiv. Ashmadai says, you know what? Wasn't incredible. Ashmadai, the king of Shedim, essentially says, you know what? Wine isn't good for you. Wine isn't good for you. Wine makes people do foolish things. So Ashmadai again, therefore feels that he is not going to go ahead and drink this wine, right? Wine makes a person do foolish things. If you drink, you're not going to become wise. Znus, right? Wine makes people do immoral things. So therefore, I will say he figures he is not going to go ahead and drink it. Kitzachi, I will say, what's the problem? He became thirsty. Lo sagile. He couldn't hold himself back. And Rabbi say, by the way, the Maharsha points out, what did Ashmadai think happened over here? So the Maharsha points out, Ashmadai thought it was a miracle. He thought it was a miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned his water to wine. He thought it was a miracle. But Rabbi said, but how incredible is it that Ashmadai himself wants to go ahead and display restraint and doesn't want to drink the wine. Obviously, I will say this is the only source that he drinks from. Right? There's nothing else to drink from right now. So Lamaisa, again, he held that as long as he could, but at a certain point he can't anymore. So what does he do? Ishti, he drank. So Rava, he got drunk, Vigana, and ultimately he fell asleep. Nochis asa shada be'shushilta sasme. So I'll say, so what happens? After he falls asleep, and Ben Yehoyada comes down from the tree, throws the chain around Ashmadai and closes the chain on Ashmadai. Ki Isar, when Ashmadai woke up, Hava Kamifrazal, he was thrashing around. Amarle, Shma Demarach Aloch, Shma Demarach Aloch. So Ben Yehoyada says to Ashmadai, there is no point in trying to escape. The name of your master, i.e. the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upon you. The name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upon you. Ashmadai, you're captured. Okay? So we'll say, so what happens? So Kinokidle. So therefore, again, we'll say, if you can imagine the scene, Ben Yehoyada is leading Ashmadai, the king of Shedim, back to Shlomo HaMelech. So what happened? Kinoket leva asi mata dikla chaf beishaje. As they're walking, Ashmadai brushed against the palm tree, and the palm tree was uprooted. Mata lebesa shaje. He brushed against the house came down. Mata gabe kuba dahu armalta. They were about to pass by a hut of a widow, right? A small hut of a widow. Nafka amadeis ichanina le. So what happens? This widow who owned this little hut, she's watching what's happening here, right? And she sees that what? She sees that Ashmedai went ahead and already knocked down a palm tree, knocked down a house. She realizes that her hut is in the way Ashmedai is going to go ahead and knock it down as well. So she comes out and she begs Ashmedai not to knock down her hut. Kafa l'kuma semine. So Ashmedai bent his body. Itbar be garma. And he broke a bone. So apparently also what happened over here is he contorted his body in such a way so as not to go ahead and brush up against the hut of this widow. But as a result of contorting his body, he went ahead and he broke a bone. What's incredible? First of all, I'll say, what's incredible? See, what's so tricky about this whole Gemara, I mean, there's a lot that you read this Gemara. What's fascinating about, say, in general about our conception of Shadim is what are they? Who are they? Are they good? Are they bad? Right? So we'll say, so again, what you see here is something amazing. So you would think Ashmedai, right? Because also, the way we translate Shadim is demons. Right? So again, our association just with the English word of a demon is like bad. Is bad. It is interesting to see over here, first of all, Ashmedai is spending his entire day learning Torah. Well, so I just want to point out, remember, he goes up to the Mesivta Derakia, to the heavenly yeshiva. Well, so if he's going up there, what else does that mean? He's going up there and what? They're letting him in. Right? We'll say they're letting him in. The fact that they're letting him in means that not everybody gets in there. So that they're letting him in, which is incredible. The fact that he displays this incredible compassion towards this almana is incredible. So again, this is the peculiar nature of Shadim, which again we'll talk about. Amen. The Gemara says as follows: Amar Haynu D'Chsiv V'Lashon Rakid Shabar We'll say this is the meaning of the pasuk in Mishlei, that a soft word could break bones. Now I will say, really what Shlomo HaMelech meant when he said that is that sometimes, right, you could accomplish so much more with a soft word than you can with brute force. But here again, what Ashmedai says, this is the meaning of the pasuk, a soft word, the supplications of this almana caused me to go ahead and literally contort my body and break a bone. Incredible. So I will say, so now the story goes on. So they're traveling. As they're traveling, they see a blind man who's lost on the road. Ashmedai helped the guy get on the right path. They saw a drunk guy who was lost on the road. Ashmedai helped the guy get on the right path. They saw a wedding celebration where everybody was celebrating. Bacha. Ultimately, Ashmedai began to cry. He saw a guy. We'll explain all these behaviors later on. So he heard. They're walking. They see a guy. He hears a guy that says to the shoemaker, "Avid li masanai l'shev shani." Make for me shoes that will last for 7 years. Achich. Ultimately, Ashmedai laughed. Chaza hahu kisma dahavakasim. Ultimately, again, they saw a sorcerer who was sorcinating, whatever, right? He was he was doing his zach, right? So what happened? Achich. Ultimately, again, Ashmedai laughed. Kimata lahasam. So Rabbi says, so now, fine, they make it to the palace of Shlomo HaMelech. We'll explain all of these behaviors afterwards. When they make it to the palace of Shlomo HaMelech, lo ayu legabe de Shlomo hatzlacha Yomi. For the first 3 days, they did not bring Ashmedai before Shlomo HaMelech. So Yom HaKamo, Amar lahu amay lo kabay li malka legabe. So the first day that they're there, so again, Ashmedai figures, right, whatever I'm here for, let's get it done. So he's there day one. He says, why have you not brought me before the king? Amar le ansei mishtia. So he said, the king drank a little bit too much. King is a shtekel hungover, right? He can't see you today. So what did Ashmedai do? Shaka levinta osiv achaverta. Ashmedai took a brick and he put it on top of another brick. So asu amar le Shlomo. So obviously Ashmedai was trying to convey a message, but no one knew what the message was. They told Shlomo what Ashmedai did. Amr lahu hachi, amr lahu hadr ashkayuha. So ultimately, again, so apparently what Ashmedai was saying is, it's actually interesting advice. The best way to combat a hangover is drink more. Right? That was the symbolism of putting one brick on top of the other brick. Feed it, and ultimately, again, you'll be better. So Amr lahu, so the Gemara says, next, Lamachar, day 2. Amr lahu va'amai lo kabayli malko. Why is the king not seeing me? Ashmedai says, Amrulei ansei michla. The king ate a little too much. And ultimately, again, I just want to point out, these details about Shlomo HaMelech are incredibly relevant for the story. It's not just haphazard. Day 1, he drank a little too much. Day 2, he ate a little too much. What's the picture that's being painted over here? What's the picture? A bit too much overindulgence. Hold on to that, because especially when we look at this story through the lens of the Maharal, who understands this entire story as a metaphor, is going to be an incredibly important detail. We'll come back to it. First, say today our goal is just to do the story. That's our goal. Fine. Next verse says, what did, after hearing this, what should I do? He took one brick. Right, so remember again, from the previous day, you had one brick on top of the other. What does he do? He takes off a brick, puts it down on the ground. They came and they told this to Shlomo, Negidu mine michla. Apparently, if you overeat, the way to deal with that is eat less the next day. That was symbolized by the removal of the brick. L'sof tlasi yomi ayli lekame. So what happened? After 3 days, or on the 3rd day, they finally brought Ashmedai to see Shlomo. First thing Ashmedai does, Shakal Kanyo Mashach Arba Garmidi V'Shadakame. He took a reed, he measured 4 amas, cut it off, and threw it before Shlomo. Amrle Michti Ki Mayesu Gavra Lasson Bahadein Alma Ella Dalid Garmidi. Hashta Kavishte. I'm sorry, someone said this. So Ashmedai gives Shlomo incredible musar. He says, just know, when you die, all you will possess in this world are your Dalet Amos. I will say that Dalet Amos refers to a burial space, right? We have a concept that mace. So we'll say, Ashmedai was giving Shlomo incredible musar. King, you think you have everything, right? You have a lot to eat, you have a lot to drink, you have power over everything. Just know one day you will leave this world. And when you leave this world, you take nothing with you. You don't take any of the wealth, you don't take any of the riches, you don't take any of your power. All you have when you leave this world are the Dalet Amas that your corpse occupies. Shlomo, you've conquered everything. You have to conquer me also. In other words, Ashmedai is offended. Right? In other words, why can't you leave me alone? You have dominion over everything. You won't be able to have dominion over me as well. So to which Shlomo says, Ashmedai, I'm not looking to subjugate you. I just need something from you. I am tasked with building a Bais Hamikdash, and I need the Shamir. Amarle, l'deidi lo masterfully, l'sar diyama masterfully. To which Ashmedai says, the Shamir has not been given to me. Rather, it's been given ultimately again to the Sara diyama, to the master of the sea. Rabbi say there's a concept that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has ministering angels who he puts in charge of different things. Sara diyama, the Pashtus refers to the Malach, who's in charge of the sea. Amar le v'lo yoyev le ela l'tarnagola bara. And I will say, ultimately, again, the only person or the only entity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the Shamir to, or the Sara diyama gives the Shamir to, is to the wild hen, to the wild rooster. Wild rooster. So the Gemara says, say why? Because everyone knows the wild rooster is good to its word. When it borrows something, it's always going to give it back. Umay Avid Bey, what does the rooster do with the Shamir? Memati de letur the less page. Listen to this. So the rooster, he takes the Shamir to a mountaintop where there's no habitation or vegetation. And what happens? Umarach le'ashina de Torah, upaka Torah, and takes the Shamir, puts it on the top of the mountain. Now what happens when you put a Shamir on top of a mountain? It splits open the mountain. Upaka Torah, umankit maisi bizroni mi'ilani b'shadi hasam. Then it takes all different kinds of seeds from different forms of vegetation, throws it into the cleft of the mountain, vahavi yishuv. And over time, what happens? The barren mountain becomes inhabited, right? The barren mountain is then covered with vegetation. Incredible. So the Nagar Tura. And this is why ultimately, again, they often call the wild rooster Nagar Tura, the splitter of mountains. Splitter of mountains. We'll say it's just also incredible to think about, by the way. There are so many things that happen in this world. Like we think we have our finger on the pulse of everything that happens. And meanwhile, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs a world with so many other processes that we're never even aware of, right? This Sarah Diyama, the master of the sea, has the shamir, gives the shamir to the wild rooster. And what is the wild rooster in charge of? Right? Wild rooster is in charge of creating habitation where there's only desolate area. Incredible. Okay, so now Bo says, so now they need to find the wild rooster. So bat ko kina de tarnagola, bra, de is spay bunny, the chafyua lekine zugisa chiyurte. So I'll say, so listen to this. So they found the nest of a wild rooster. What did they do? While the mother rooster or the father rooster was away, so what happens? And the young were in the nest. They put glass over the nest. So what happens? The rooster comes back. He also velomatzi. So now the rooster came back. The rooster wanted to get to its young, but it couldn't because of the glass. So what did it do? Azul icy shamira. It went to go borrow the shamir, right, to get it right from the sardiyama in order to cut through the glass. Rama bekala. So the rooster goes to get the shamir, comes back with the shamir, puts the shamir on the glass to break open the glass. As the rooster is doing this, Shlomo's there, or his guys are there. They make a loud sound and they grab, right, the rooster runs away, they grab the shamir. Shajye, shakle, azar, so we'll say azle. So what happens? They grab the shamir, and ultimately again, now they have it. We'll say the rooster, having realized that ultimately again it lost the shamir, chanak nafshe ashvuase. The rooster killed itself, realizing that it would be unable to fulfill its promise. Let's say that's how seriously the rooster takes its word, takes its commitment. Ultimately, again, realizing it lost the shamir, would be unable to return it to Sardiyama, kills itself. So Amalei the B'nai. So I'll say, so now, good news is, Shlomo has the shamir. Okay, so now I'll say, the story's paused here with Shlomo just a little bit. Now I'll say, Amalei B'nayo. So I'll say, B'nayo now is having a conversation with Ashmedai. And he says to Ashmedai, can you explain your behaviors when we were traveling to the palace? My time aki chazisi lahu samya davikatai ba'archa asikte la'arche. So first he says to Ashmedai, why is it that when you saw the blind man who was lost, you helped him? Amalei mechrzi alei berekia tetzadik gamerhu. Because again, I heard about, remember again, Ashmedai travels to the celestial sphere. So he said, I heard them announce in the heavens that ultimately this blind man is a big tzaddik, right? Uman da'avid le'necha nafshi zachi la'alma da'asi. And whoever helps him will have a portion in the world to come. So Ashmedai said, I heard this, I wanted a chaperayim, and therefore I helped him. Which by the way also tells you, goes with this idea, like the Maharsha said, that shadim, eat, drink, live, die. And as such, Ashmedai himself also has a vested interest in securing for himself a portion in the world to come. Why is it when we saw the drunk guy wandering around lost that you helped him get on the right path? They announced about this guy in Shamayim, in the Rakia, in the celestial abode, the Rasha Gamarhu. So ultimately, again, and I gave him benefit in this world. Because even the greatest Rasha has certain zuchuyos. Ashmedai said, I gave him some benefit in this world by helping him out. This way, again, he would have no portion in the world to come. Okay? My time Bachis. Why is it when we passed by the wedding celebration, you cried? Why did you cry? Amrle baya memis gavin begot Lasson yamin. Bais Midrash liyavam katan pleisashnin. Ashmedai said, I saw prophetically that the chassan was going to die within 3 days. And ultimately, again, his surviving brother, because the wife would have to do yibum, the surviving brother was very young, and she was going to have to wait 13 years in order to be able to do yibum. So also interesting, right? The empathy that Ashmedai has towards this woman who's going to lose her husband in just a few days, and then be locked waiting for yibum. My time kishamati lahu gavra damrale luushchapa. Why is it that when you heard the guy asking the shoemaker for shoes that would last for 7 years, why did you laugh? Amarle hahu shiva yomi lesle. This guy doesn't have 7 days. Misani l'shev shnin boy. Does he need shoes for 7 years? I will say, what a profound Gemara. Now, again, whether Ashmedai was actually saying this guy was going to die in 7 years, the Maharshal seems to understand that Ashmedai was more laughing at the fallacy of control of the human condition. Right? What he was saying ultimately, again, was people. He's like, Ashmedai says, I don't get these people. Right? Human beings operate as if they have some type of secure, guaranteed future, right? As if you need shoes that'll last for 7 years when you literally don't know what's going to happen in the next 7 days. We'll say a very profound Gemara, right? We all struggle with this. On one hand, not to plan for the future is reckless and irresponsible. But on the other hand, to only plan for the future and not to go ahead and pay attention to the present is equally as reckless as irresponsible. We don't know what the future holds. Therefore, I will say again, the only thing we know we have right now is the present. That's why, again, so much of life is about maximizing the present, because it's the one thing you have in front of you and the one guarantee you have. Anything past the present moment, you absolutely have no idea what life is going to bring your way. That's why I will say, the Gemara says, don't say when I have time I will learn, because perhaps you will not have time. Never go ahead and kick down the road things that need to get done now. For one never knows what the future will bring. So Ashadai was laughing about this. Really? You need shoes that are going to last for 7 years? Tell me, what's happening in 7 minutes from now? What's happening in 7 days from now? Don't worry about shoes that are going to last for 7 years, but rather worry about maximizing the present moment. So profound. So the Gemara says, "My tamaki chazise lahu kisma davakosim achichas." Why is it that when you saw that sorcerizing, that you were laughing? Amar Leah, listen to this. Tahavi Yosef abe gaza de malka likso maidi ikatuse. You know what I say? Listen to this. Because he saw this sorcerer. What is this sorcerer trying to figure out? The sorcerer trying to figure out all the secrets of the universe. Meanwhile, Ashmedai is laughing because he doesn't realize that guy is sitting right on top of buried treasure of the king. Right? He should stop sorcerizing about what's going to happen in the future, right? And start thinking about literally, again, right, what's right underneath him. I would say, by the way, that's also, it's the same motif. It's the same motif. Why? What's the sorcerer trying to do? The sorcerer trying to figure out the hidden things, right? The hidden information, the future. You're sitting right on top of buried treasure. Right? I will say, what an incredible metaphor for life. How often in life are we sitting on top of buried treasure? Right? There are opportunities right in front of us. There are brachas right in front of us. But often again, my head is over here, my head is over there, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, I'm worried about the future. And meanwhile, again, the buried treasure is literally right underneath me. But I'm so preoccupied with so many other things that I don't see the beautiful treasure literally, that is right underneath me. So I will say, I guess the difference between Shadim and people, here's the Shadim and people, is that people are often myopic and only see, or I should say often miss to see, what is right in front of them. Shadim, maybe because they have the ability to travel between heaven and earth, have the ability to see things in a much more global way. So Ashmedai finds himself laughing, right, at the short-sighted nature of the human condition. People sacrificing a present for some future they may or may not know. People trying to find the brachas all around them, when in fact the brachas are literally right in front of me in that present moment. Human beings often miss the present reality in search of some greater future. The Shadim see this and they laugh at the short-sighted nature of the human condition. It's incredible. So the Gemara goes weiter. So we'll say what happened. So now Shlomo kept Ashmedai with him until the Bais Hamikdash was built. Okay? Yom Echad Havakai L'chudei. So we'll say one day Shlomo and Ashmedai were alone with each other. Amar leksiv kisavos re'im lo v'amrinan kisavos elu malachi asharis re'im elu ashedim my rabusaychu minan. So Shlomo will say now they're talking. Shlomo says to Ashmedai, why are you guys greater than us? right? What makes Shadim superior to people? So we'll say, by the way, we, the reader of this Gemara, already know. We just saw what makes Shadim greater than people on the most basic level. Say is what? Is their vision, their life vision. Okay, but what makes you greater? So this is incredible. You know this is going to go badly. Amrle, shakil shushilta minoi, vahavli iskasach, vaachli lirabosai. Such this is, you know what? Do me a favor. Take off my chain, give me your ring, and I'll show you what makes us greater than you. Shakli lishushilta minoi. So we'll say, now here's what's interesting. Shlomo took off the chain, v'eravla iskasa, and he gave him the ring. And we'll say, what did Ashmadai do? Bale. Ashmadai swallows up Shlomo HaMelech. He swallows Shlomo. We'll say, now why did Shlomo do this? See, we'll say, this is interesting. Shlomo thought they had a relationship. Right? After all, again, we spent all this time together. Right? You helped us. So it's actually interesting. He actually thought they had a relationship. Ashmadai was like, are you kidding? You have me in a chain. We don't have a relationship. Right? I'm your servant. So the moment that Ashmadai had the ability to gather, he did. So he swallows up Shlomo. Osve lechad gape barakia, or lechad gape ba'ara. Now apparently Shadim have wings also. He went ahead and he literally again, I would say if you can imagine, it's almost like he's positioning himself. Right? He positioned one wing in Shamayim, one wing on the earth. Paske arba mea parske. And he spit Shlomo HaMelech out a distance of 400 parsos. So we'll say, see now Shlomo HaMelech is out of the kingdom. Now we'll say, concurrently, Ashmadai assumes the form of Shlomo HaMelech. He makes himself look like the king. So he shaita Amar Shlomo ma yisron la adam mecholam lo shia amal tachas hashemesh. V'zaya chalki mikol amalei. So we'll say, at this point, if you can imagine, by the way, Shlomo HaMelech is expelled to some foreign land 400 parsos away, and it's during this time in his life that he wrote in Koheles, what benefit is there man? What benefit does man have from all of his toil underneath the sun? Because we'll say now, Shlomo HaMelech essentially went from ruling over everything to being an anonymous no one in the middle of nowhere. Rabbi Shmuel Chadamar Maklo v'Chadamar Gundo. So we'll say all he had with him was either his staff or his cloak. So we'll say Shlomo HaMelech was literally a beggar. He was going door to door. And whenever he went, Kolecha Damata Amarle, Ani Kohales Hayisi Melech Al Yisrael Yerushalayim. And wherever he would go, he said the same thing. By the way, it's me. It's Shlomo. Right? I'm Koheles. I was king in Yerushalayim. So we'll say, so obviously everyone thinks that he's a nut. Right? He's going door to door. He's got nothing but a staff, nothing but a cloak, claiming that is Shlomo. Kimata Gabe Sanhedrin, Omra Abana Michti Shota Bechad Musalo Sarach. So my high. So I said, usually crazy people don't keep repeating the same thing over and over. So there's this guy claiming to be Shlomo. He's repeating the same thing over and over and over. So they said, what's up with this? There must be something to this. So he said to Benayo, Kaboy lecha malka legabe. Has the king called for you at all? Amr lehu lo shalchu lo malchusa. Kasi, right? So the Gemara says, what happens? So I'm sorry, lo shalchu. So lo. So Benayo says, no, the king has not called to me for a long time. Shalchu le malchasa. Kasi malka legabaychu. They send word to the queen. That's the return. Has the king come to you? Shalchu lehu in. Yeah, the king has come to us, has come to me. So the Gemara says, in Kasi, Shalchule Bidku Bakare. So they said to the queen, do me a favor, the next time the king comes to you, check his feet. I will say, apparently, again, so Shadim have chicken feet. Again, we'll discuss that more tomorrow. So Shalchuluhu, Bemuki Kasi, whenever the king comes to us, he's always wearing his socks. He never goes barefoot. Vikatavaluhu benidusayu. And the king is exhibiting an unusually ravenous sexual appetite that he's propositioning all of his queens and his concubines even when they're in Nida. And he even propositioned his own mother. So we'll say, now the Sanhedrin realizes something is up. You have this guy we thought was a nut, who's telling everybody that he is Shlomo HaMelech. The king is acting in a very strange way. So ultimately, what did they do? They called in Shlomo. They gave him a chain with the name of Hashem, a ring with the name of Hashem. He comes in, Shlomo comes in, Abosai, confronts Ashmadai, ki ayol chazye parach. Ultimately, Ashmadai sees the real Shlomo. What does he do? He flies away. So Abosai, So I will say, we'll pause over here for just a moment. I will say, what to do with this whole story? I'll say, I will just say, with this, we have to end now, but I will just say something amazing. Isn't it fascinating? I will say, that ultimately, again, the way we're introduced to Ashmedai is how does he spend his days? He spends his days ultimately, again, morning Seder in Yeshiva Shalmala, afternoon Seder in a Yeshiva Shalmata, right? And again, helping people, empathy, and yet again, when he assumes the form of Shalom Melech, what's the hallmark of his behavior? This ravenous, carnal, lustful appetite. So let's say, I was thinking about this yesterday, let's say, if you look at the name Ashmedai, so let's say, what is Ashmedai? It's Eish Midai. It's too much passion. See, Rabbi say, on one hand, an Ashmedai personality manifests itself in a ravenous appetite for Torah. Right? Ultimately, again, he's learning in the morning, he's learning in the afternoon. And I will say, then, when he assumes Shalom Melech terms, what is he doing? A ravenous appetite for intimacy. Right? It's Eish Midai. See, I will say, the difference between shade, you know what the real difference between shadim and people is? Shadim are too much passion. Shadim are too much passion. You see, the godless of being a human being, of being an ish, is the ability to temper your ish. Right? Remember, I will say, what's ish? Ish is the ish with the yud. It's passion, but it's tempered passion because I bring the Ribono Shel Olam into my life. Difference between Eish and Shadim is Eish Midai. The Shadim have too much untempered passion, which causes them to behave in extreme ways. The greatness of us, the greatness of Anoshim, of Ish, is the ability to take all of the passions that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us, to temper them with a healthy dose of spirituality, to use them in a directed way for personalistic growth, but never to allow them to do wrong. I will say, wow, we will have to stop over here for today. We're not finished yet. Emir Hashem. I will say to be continued. Shkoyach.